Thank you for visiting FP Corporation booth today. I'd like to share how a Japanese company has made it possible to recycle post-consumer food containers made from foam polystyrene back to food containers in order to realize circulation of such products. Before diving into our recycling system, let me briefly introduce the company because it will be essential for you to know our background to understand our journey of recycling. FP Corporation, or FPCO for short, is a Japanese company manufacturing food containers. Annual sales of the company is roughly $1.8 billion. FPCO is the largest company in the segment with 30 to 40% market share in Japan. We have been manufacturing single-use plastics or SUP food containers such as meat trays and dairy containers used at supermarkets and other food-related stores for 60 years. One of the materials FPCO uses is foamed polystyrene, or more commonly known as styrofoam, so-called foam PS. Nowadays, importance of circular society is focused at everywhere in the world. An eco-related movement became noticeable, say last 10 years or so, and it was only in the last few years that this trend became even bigger. On the other hand, FPCO started to realize circulation of SUP products 30 years ago. At that time, very few companies seriously considered recycling. Especially, it was said that recycling of SUP products was unrealistic economically. Despite that, FPCO persistently continued its recycling activities. The activities are now well understood by the public, and as a result, FPCO now has deeply incorporated environment and society as the core of our business. We are working harder to become a company that creates new value and sustainable development while circulating our business. In this video, I would like to share how FPCO recycles foam PS containers, keys to succeed in recycling, and the latest and future activities of the company. FPCO manufactures foam PS food containers. During the history of the company, it has been reducing weight of containers to minimize usage of materials and environmental impact. It also collects, sorts, and mechanically recycles post-consumer food containers made from foam PS back into new food containers. Generally, foam PS or PS are considered hard to recycle economically because its material cost is relatively low. On the other hand, PS containers are mono-material products like PET bottles, and therefore it is relatively easy to go through material recycling and should be considered as one of the most suitable materials for realizing circular society. Flow of post-consumer food containers made from foam PS is as in this chart. FPCO manufactures containers and sells them to supermarkets, oftentimes through distributors. Supermarkets sell food in the containers. Consumers wash and dry used containers and bring them back to a supermarket when they make a trip to the store and put them in collection boxes at the store. FPCO collects such containers from supermarkets to be recycled back into food containers again. FPCO has its own distribution system throughout Japan and utilizes delivery trucks to collect used containers. Because of this FPCO method, it can minimize cost and CO2 emission to collect post-consumer containers. When we started this system 30 years ago, selected 6 stores cooperated with us. Now we have more than 9,800 collection sites, and the number is increasing. FPCO now collects roughly 10,000 tons of PS containers per year for recycling. Recycled material is used to manufacture EcoTray, a mid-tray series. Recycled material is used in the middle layer of the container with virgin film layers on both sides. The material itself is safe enough for food contact, but we apply virgin layers as to comply with Japanese industrial self-regulation. FPCO sells roughly 19,000 tons of EcoTray per year, and EcoTray is one of the driving forces of FPCO's growth. This is how recycling is done at our recycling centers. Collected foamed PS containers are sorted into white containers, colored containers, and other materials. FPCO utilizes intellectually challenged persons at sorting stations. I will mention about hiring of challenged persons later. Sorted white and colored containers are separately washed and become recycled PS material. We use recycled material from white containers to make foamed PS sheet, which FPCO uses to manufacture new food containers. Other than previously mentioned on distribution system and sorting and recycling know-how, there are three most important factors. The first key is consumers' awareness and participation to our activities. If consumers would not wash, dry, and bring used containers back to supermarkets, this recycling system does not work. Second key is information disclosure and education. FPCO's recycling centers are open to anyone. We've received close to 500,000 people in the past. They were our customers, consumer groups, government officials, and students. Our recycling centers are used for educational trips for school kids. We've received a lot of thank you notes from them. If you are interested in visiting our recycling plant, please feel free to contact us. The last key is a social movement toward CO2 emission reduction and recycling. Because of such movement, packaging users, such as supermarkets, are now more willingly using ecologically friendly products with ecological consideration. Speaking of CO2 emission reduction by FPCO method recycling, according to one of LCA calculation methods, use of our EcoTray results in a 30% reduction of CO2 emission compared to conventional containers. This 30% is basically from material production stage as in the chart. As a result of our PS recycling, reduction of 37,000 tons of CO2 emission was achieved in fiscal year 2020. Currently, FPCO recycles white containers back into its own products, whereas recycled material from colored containers is sold to third parties, which is reused for the material to manufacture products such as plastic hangers. Aiming at circulating such colored containers within the company, FPCO is now investigating the possibility of PS chemical recycling. We believe that it is important to take various aspects such as CO2 emission, utilization of resources, and other environmental impacts into consideration when selecting chemical recycling technology, so that we are able to achieve a complete circulation of foam PS food containers with the most suitable system. Along with our foam PS recycling, FPCO started recycling of PET food containers and PET bottles 10 years ago. FPCO mechanically recycles such a post-consumer PET containers and PET bottles to manufacture new food containers. Similar to foamed PS recycling, FPCO collects and recycles PET containers and PET bottles at supermarkets And now, we make 60,000 tons of recycled PET annually, and all the PET containers we manufacture contain such recycled PET. Combined with EcoTray, recycled foam PS meat tray, roughly 45% of all the products we manufacture are made with unrecycled materials. Our recycled PET containers have 30% less CO2 emission when compared with conventional PET containers. We achieved 123,000 tons of CO2 emission reduction in fiscal year 2020. We are upgrading our recycling plants to increase their capacities and realize further sustainability. As I mentioned, FPCO hires persons with intellectual disabilities, and the current ratio of such persons in the company is about 12.7%, according to the Japanese government accounting system. The ratio is much higher than the target set by the government at 2.3%. Persons with intellectual disabilities have a high ability to focus on monotonous tasks. Therefore, they participate in sorting tasks at our recycling centers and other areas in the company. FPCO hires such people as full-time employees and provides them a workplace which could be their raison d'etre or reasons for living. FPCO has used machine sorters in the past, but using persons with disabilities results in much better sorting efficiency and higher quality recycled material. On top of that, this hiring activity creates diversity and inclusion within FPCO Group, along with contribution to the circular society through recycling activities. We started an environment fund in 2020, aiming to assist groups which tackle environmental issues. The company encourages its employees to participate in such activities. We are proud of being a good corporate citizen with SDGs in its mind. FPCO issued carbon offset declaration in February 2021. We installed solar power panels on the roofs of our recycling centers and plants and utilized renewable energy generated by the panels for PS recycling. For our fiscal year ending March 2023, our target is to reduce CO2 emission equal to or greater than the emission from our production plants. This would be achieved by both PS and PT recycling activities and solar power generation. Furthermore, for our fiscal year ending March 2025, we set more challenging target to reduce CO2 emission equals to or greater than the emission from our company activities, including production, transportation, and office sectors. In order to do so, FPCO is aiming to increase the amount of PS and PT recycling. As mentioned, we have been participating in recycling activities for 30 years to contribute to a sustainable and circular society. We will strive to achieve much higher level of environmental activity. Foamed PS is a suitable material for recycling if properly handled. We hope the material will be recycled more in the world to achieve toward a sustainable and circular society. If you are interested in our recycling activities, please visit our website and feel free to contact us. Thank you very much for watching and listening. It would be nice if you have a chance to see you in Japan. Have a great day. ありがとう。